Somebody say Sexpectations. About 8 years ago, I got myself involved in a little bit of cooking. And I was cooking something called strawberry barbecue hot sauce, right? And basically it's barbecue that's flavored with strawberry and it's hot, right? So here it is. I'm making a big pot of it, trying to make a couple gallons of it to send to this restaurant to sell it, right? And I'm the master saucier, right? And I'm there and I'm making sauce. So I love to do. By the way, I can't make nothing else. I can't make rice, chicken. But sauce is my thing. So I'm there and I'm making this strawberry barbecue hot sauce, and it changed my life, right? I'm making the sauce a very big pot, right? And I made the barbecue base, right? And then I began to put all the other stuff in there, strawberries, and I can't tell you all the secret ingredients, but some gelatin type stuff, right? Gelatin, and then the black pepper and the crushed red pepper, and then the magic of it all, right, is to get the vinegar up, just the vinegar, that high acid up to the right place, right? And then, and only then, do you throw in a lot of Scotch bonnet pepper. And what I do is I blend up everything, right? I blend the entire pepper with the stem and everything. The stem, the seeds, everything must go in there, right? So I'm making this big pot of strawberry barbecue hot, and it is boiling hot, and I'm mixing it, and I'm thickening it, right? Putting in the right thing that you put in there to make it nice and thick. And it's mixing, and it's bubbling, and it's boiling. I don't know how many of you have ever seen thick liquid boil. The bubbles, they're very slow in popping. They go. And every time a bubble pops, the essence of hot comes out of it. The essence of Scotch bonnet, Jamaican Scotch bonnet pepper comes out. So anyway, so I'm there and I'm cooking this pot. And now I've made it to perfection, and I'm lifting it and I'm bringing it over to where I will now pour it into the gallon containers. And I'm lifting it, and my right hand slips and the pot falls down on this, the stove, and the pot falls and the sauce flies up and catch me on my face and all down my body and onto my hands. And I'm saying it's boiling at a, right? It's boiling at a thick, slow boil. And it's very hot. And all of that falls on me. And I say, because it's burning. It's burning in all kinds of ways. You have to understand. I'm talking about heat and pepper and everything in one. And it's burning me, and I'm saying, and everybody there, the guys that were there working with him say, Bossy, Lord have mercy, him burn up. And then Marsha run come out from wherever she is, and she say, oh my God, my baby. And she's panicking. Oh my God, get the car keys. And I'm like, because I've never felt anything like that. And I'm like, all on my right side burning up, and my eye can't even open. Get the car keys, rush him. And they say, what, cover him? No, don't cover him. Don't, just carry him to the car. We have to take him to the doctor. Red strawberry particles all over me, pepper seeds all over me, right? And so we jump in the car, and we're rushing, and I say, go in my phone, take out my doctor's phone number, all right? And call him. She calls the doctor. This is my doctor. I grew up going to this doctor, and his office is very close to where I live. So I said, call him, we'll go there. So we called the doctor and said, Nurse, Marsh said, Nurse, this is Christopher Morgan's wife. Yes, Christy Morgan, and he's coming in now. He's burning up. Burns all over. Right? So let the doctor know, bring out the gurney, bring out the whatever. It's like emergency room type stuff, right? So we rush down there driving. I'm like, drive faster. I can't even put on the seatbelt. Then we get to this place, right? We call ahead to let them know that there is an emergency. I'm burning. We get there, and nothing is prepared for me. The nurse is still at her desk. The doctor is still in the back seeing patients, and the reception, the waiting room is packed full of people, and packed full of old magazines. Why is it that doctors' offices have so many? Why do they have the 1992 National Geographic? Reader's Digest. Still, to this day, and they're still clean and nice, like they're just me. Anyway, so the waiting room is packed full, and and it's burning, and all over me, and there is just the room full of people, children, and they're looking at me like they want to cry, right? Because I'm in agony, right? And the mothers are there, children are there, people that are sick have their ailments, and everybody's looking at me like, oh my God, this guy's about to die. And I'm like, right? And I see my life flashing before my eyes. I'm thinking, can't use my hand anymore. I have to shut down the business. I can't cook. I don't know if I'm going to be able to see again. Right? I don't know if I'm going to be able to preach again. What am I going to do? Life passing. I'm thinking, and I'm saying to Marsha, is my skin hanging off? You know what I mean? Am I bleeding? Where is my skin hanging off? Right? And do you see bone? Right? Do you see the bone? Because it's burning and I feel it like in my bones. So I said, do you see my bones? Right? How much skin is hanging off of me? Oh my God, this must be gross for everybody to look at. That's how my tongue was too. Like, okay, it tastes good, No, I'm just, okay. So, we're in the reception, and the nurse picks up the phone. Doc? Yes, no, it's because he wants to know what is all that noise out there. Christopher Morgan, yes. She looks. No. No. No, sir. No. So tell the man, yes. You know what I mean? No. Yes, burns, sir. No. No. No, sir. And then she says something, she says, superficial burns, sir. And I'm sitting down and I say, superficial burns? And I just get him and I say, take me to that doctor's office now to talk about superficial burns. Somebody says superficial burn. So eventually, after waiting for half an hour, skin coming off, bone showing, right? I'm rushed to the doctor. Sit down there with the doctor, and he looks at me, and I say, Doc, I mean, what we're talking about, superficial burn, what that mean? Because this is bad. I mean, I kind of know what superficial means. It means like, it's really nothing, right? So I said, what do you mean? He says, well, Christopher, let me explain, right? And the nurse now comes, and she has a piece of wet cloth, and she starts to wipe me off. And she says, well, he says, Christopher, there's fourth degree burns, and that's really, really bad. It's the worst kind of burn you could have. He says, and there's third degree burns. That one is really bad. That one like goes real deep, and you can see. And then there's second degree burns, right? And that one is kind of so on. And he says, and then there's first degree burns. And then on the lower spectrum of first degree burns, all the way down at the bottom, is something called superficial burns. Meaning it not really, really, really burn. I looked it up and it's glib, shallow. It's not really gone. It's not really more than skin deep. You understand, right? And I'm there and I'm saying, but it don't feel that way, right? It doesn't feel that way. And because he's known me ever since I was a little boy, and he's seeing me in agony, right? And he says, well, Christopher, let me explain. I understand how you feel, because I've had superficial, but he says it is, I understand that it's more than skin deep. You've been through a traumatic experience, right? The pain, the fear, the anxiety, the worry. You're nervous. You don't know what to do. You don't know what this can mean, right? When you look at yourself, you don't know how to feel. I understand that this is more than skin deep. I said, that's what I'm saying. This thing is more than skin deep. Not just superficial. So, they wiped me off and gave me some sunburn cream. And said, you're good, Marsha just rub that on him. and you'll be all right. Somebody say more than skin deep. Today, I'd like to show you that sex is much more than skin deep. I'm actually going to kind of teach for a little bit about God's expectations and to show you, to tell you some good news and to show you that God's expectations, God's sexpectations are actually more than your sexpectations are. In other words, what God expects of you, because that's what you're concerned about today, what does he expect of me? What God expects of you is really tied to what he has for you. God has more for you sexually than you could ever dream or imagine. Somebody say, God has more. Sex is created to be more than skin deep. Sex is more than skin deep. Somebody say, sex is more than skin deep. See, some of us have very superficial expectations of sex. For some of us, your sexpectations, I've grown out of it. Your sexual expectations are only skin deep. That's all you're concerned about. You think that sex is all about penis and vagina and other parts. We can talk about those things because the children aren't here and they're not supposed to be. I'm just saying. But for some of you, because of what you've experienced in your past, connected to sex, the pain that you feel, some of you would agree with me today and say, you're actually right, Pastor Chris, it's actually more. Because the pain that I've felt connected with someone that I've gotten attached to sexually, it really is deeper than I thought it was going to be. It is deeper. We've been playing with 10 words. These are, sexpectations. These are what drive our sexual desire. And you should have these memorized by now. If you don't, just take a picture of them. First of all, we talked about procreation. This is why people want to have sex, to have babies. Because of how it feels, emotion, because of how it feels on the inside, romantification, all of the romance stuff, fascination, and for 6 other things that are more dark, right? And more, not just gray, but dark. These are the dark areas of sex, where we believe sex is just a transaction. That's what it is for some people, where they do it to get identification and definition. Some have tapped into perversion and the abuses and the misuses of their body, right? And those that they claim to love. And of course, those they don't even care about. Objectification, that's when we objectify ourselves, or we remove the personification. The parts of our body just become an object. All right, the parts of somebody else's body just becomes an object. Or subjugation, when we dominate. We get into this power thing in relation to sex. Those are what I've encouraged you to look at, to ask yourself the question, what do I expect? What are my expectations of these 10 things? Can I put the first 5 up again? What are my expectations of these things? Why does this drive me? How much does it drive me? Is it fair to my spouse? Am I in line with God? Am I fueling them too much? All right? Well, today we're going to look at God's sexpectations of these things. Are you ready? Very quickly. Somebody say, sex is more than skin deep. Let's just look at number 6 through 10, and I just want to tell you very clearly that God expects that you do not live or tap into any of these gray and dark areas. God's expectation is that you do not tap into 6 through 10 any of these dark areas. God expects that you do not see sex as a transaction, that you do not seek identification of yourself from sex. God expects that you do not tap into perversion, and this goes for, of course, single people and married persons. God expects that you do not objectify and that you do not subjugate yourself or allow yourself to be or anyone else. You understand? I'm going to now spend time in number 1 through 5. You still with me? Wonderful. All right. Procreation. God's expectation in relation to procreation is based on the spiritual principle of sowing and reaping. There's a spiritual principle called sowing and reaping. Somebody say sowing. Sex is sowing. Here is the powerful truth, and it's that your sexual organs are always and cannot be separated from your reproductive organs. Your sexual organs are reproductive organs. You know, actually, I should say it this way. Your reproductive organs are sexual organs. You can't separate it, though you may do some things to do that, to try. So sex is sowing. You must understand that sex is sowing seed. Man carries seed, and woman, you really are soil. Solomon in the Songs of Solomon says, I came into my garden. And he's referring to his bride. He says, I came into my garden and sowed seed. Right? Sex. Somebody say sex is sowing. Women, I just want to let you know today that your body is soil. And it is created for sowing seed. It should not be used for anything else. You are never not soil. You are never not good soil that a man should come to and try to disturb it. A man should not come to your soil if he's not ready to sow seed. Be careful, woman, of trying to claim that you are not soil, or trying to be in that moment not soil. Oh, I don't want anything sown in my soil, so I'm going to do some things. Women say, I'm never not soil. And I'm talking physically, emotionally, spiritually. You are soil. What I'm saying today is God's expectation is that you do not ever have sex with anybody that you do not want to or are not willing to procreate. That's why your sexual organ is your reproductive organ. Because the legitimate place for sex, the sanctioned place for sex, is in marriage. Don't have sex with anybody or at any time if you are not willing to procreate. You just need to know, pleasure is not the primary purpose for sex. It wasn't what was primarily, firstly revealed to us about sex. Procreation was. That's what God said first. You're going to reproduce, you're going to have, and you're going to do that with your reproductive organs. Right? Okay. You understand what I'm saying. So, purpose is pleasurable. Somebody say, thank God for that. But pleasure, it's not pleasure, it's purposeful. The problem in what we do the problem with what the world does, and we're even doing that in church, right, is that we're trying to remove the possibility of reproduction when we have sex. Trying to do everything, buy everything we can to remove the possibility of this thing working the way it's supposed to work. Trying to remove the purpose from the pleasure. Right? So, there are two things you can do. You can either spill the seed or kill the seed. And we've been spilling seed and killing seed. A man spilled him seed one time in the Bible. Oh, none. And God said, oh, you're going to spill seed? Well, I'm going to kill you. You know, we're not created to spill our seed. As a matter of fact, your seed is the most is the most powerful, most priceless thing on this earth. The seed you carry, men, is not made to be spilled all over the place. So, expect more. He wants you to have sex, expecting more from sex. But what is happening is that we are, when it's in the wrong time and in the wrong place with the wrong person, right? You think it's a safe place. What is happening is you're having sex and then you're waking up the next morning worrying about if sex is going to do what it's supposed to do. You're supposed to be anticipating more and you're praying for less. You're supposed to be anticipating more out of sex, but you're worried that fruit is going to come forth from the seed that was sown. Somebody say, sowing. All right, number 2, sensation, feeling, physical feeling, right? The sensation and all of the feelings thereof. This is rooted in the principle of reciprocity. Sensation, and when it comes to sex, is rooted in the principle of reciprocity. And this is a principle that says, when you give, you get. All right? When you give, you get. Let me just read Luke chapter 6, verse 8 says, given it will be given unto you a good measure, pressed down, shaken together, and running over will be poured into your lap. Talking about sex. Somebody say giving. Right? The principle of reciprocity is built in to us biologically and expressed sexually. Right? God created sex so that when you give, you get. At the same time, isn't that wonderful? Yes, it is wonderful to think about. It's impossible to give and not get unless there's something wrong. The problem is that most people are caught up in their expectations with what they want to get rather than anticipating and working towards what they have to give. As a matter of fact, the Bible actually says, it goes on and it builds on the principle of reciprocity, and it says, you are actually going to be more blessed when you give. It is more blessed to give than it is to receive. And that's built into everything that we do. Right? It's more better. What God is saying in relation to sex is that the more you give, the better it gets. Somebody said, the more I give, the better it's going to get. For them and for me. You can't give in sex and not get. What God wants you to do, God is saying, I expect you to be a giver, not a taker. Single people, prepare yourself to become a giver. Married people, become givers. Men are talking to you mostly. Men have become takers. Men have become beggars. Men have become takers. Big babies. Receivers. Men, you are created to be a giver. Men, be a giver. Become a giver, and you will become a getter. Number 3. Somebody said, Pastor Chris, why are you being so deep? I thought we were just talking about sex. The reason is because sex is more than skin deep. All right, number 3. Emotions, regarding your emotions. I'm talking about the principle of growing deeper roots and bearing stronger fruits. Somebody say, growing deeper roots to bear stronger fruit. The biblical principle is that the more you go down, the deeper you go, the higher you're going to rise. Jeremiah 17:8 says, they will be like a tree planted by the water that sends its roots by the streams, and it doesn't cease to bear fruit. The deeper you go, the higher you're going to rise. Lord have mercy. The deeper the emotions, the higher you're going to rise in your experience. Right? The more you open yourself, is the more you're going to enjoy it. The more spots you can hit emotionally, is the better you're going to feel. Somebody say, yes, he did say spot. right? Intimacy demands that you go deeper into me, see. That you see deeper into me. Right? I was trying to explain this to my wife, and she said, oh my God, you can't say all of that. It just sounds so sexual. Using words like deeper and higher and open, right? Like spots. Talking about into me, right? And there is a reason why when you talk about the emotions that it sounds so sexual. There's a reason why intimacy, when you talk about emotional intimacy, it sounds so sexual. And that is because you are created, your emotions were created to be the root and your physical experience the fruit. You know, okay, it rhyme, right? So that rhyme? I said, what? Okay. Sorry. Your emotions were created to be the root and physical intimacy the fruit. Physical intimacy the root. Sorry. Emotional intimacy the root. Physical intimacy the fruit. Some of you have this thing the wrong way. Some give their body to get the emotion. Maybe if I give, then I'll get the emotional side. God expects that sex is rooted in love, not lust. And that your emotions are growing deeper daily in your relationship. Somebody say deeper. Emotions must be deepening. Men, I want to talk to you again for a second because for some reason men don't go all in with their emotions. I want to encourage you, men, there is a place that you can hit in the life, in the heart and the body of a woman that starts with her heart, that starts with the emotional. There are places that you cannot hit physically if you don't start it emotionally. So you may have to learn to go deeper emotionally. You may have to learn to open up yourself deeper emotionally. You may have to learn to be intimate with your feelings, not just your thoughts. So men, I'm encouraging you to do that. A couple days ago, I bought a patty and a cocoa bread, right? And I was driving, and I built it, right? You know, to build it, you have to take it out, put it on my lap, and take out the cocoa bread, open it up, take out the patty. Take out the patty, it was a cheese patty, and I put it in the middle. I got 2 packets of ketchup. Don't judge me. But this is how I do it. And I bust the 2 packets of ketchup, and I'm at the stoplight, and I squeeze it in there, right? If I had pickle pepper sauce, I would have put it in there. You have to try it. Pickle pepper sauce in your patty. It's amazing. Okay. So I build the patty, and the cocoa bread, and I close it, and I put it back in the bag, right? And I'm eating, and I'm biting, and I'm waiting for that taste. That taste where I get the crust, the softness of the hot cocoa bread, right? The ketchup, right? And the melted cheese. I'm waiting for that taste. And I bite all around this thing. I bite down to the end. I didn't get what I wanted. And I go and I look in the bag. I mean, all of the ketchup and the meat and the cheese down in the bag. I didn't realize that there was more in the bag. Somebody said there's more in the bag. Men, I'm trying to tell you that there's more in the bag. But you have to go deeper. You're billing the thing, but you're not looking where the real stuff is. I'm trying to tell you, men, if you want to make a woman really feel good, there are places that a woman deserves to go physically, that it can only happen if you begin emotionally. Men, open up yourself. Women, open yourself up and go deeper emotionally. Amen? Amen. Somebody said there's more in the bag. Okay, number 4. Romantification. This is romance. Everybody know what romance is. That fairy tale fantasy, that the thrilling and the thoughtful stuff that a man can do for a woman or a woman do for a man. Right? And God wants you to begin discovering new stuff. Isaiah 43:19. Behold, I'm about to do something new. It is here. Do you even see it? Right? This is not just a principle, but it's a provision and a gift of revelation that God has for us. In sex, God is saying today that every new season demands that you open your eyes to discover new things and new places. Every new season, men, open your eyes to see new. Let me just define romance, right? But by the dictionary. The dictionary definition says, it is a feeling of excitement and mystery that you get from new experiences and or events. Escapades. New ones. Right? Somebody say new. New experiences, right? In new environments, right? And new events. The problem with some uno is that uno too boring. You're just too boring. So your sex life is boring. Married couples, I'm talking to you. Single people, prepare yourself. Because you're going to just end up boring. Right? What God is saying is you need to keep on discovering what is new. Right? I'm talking about romance. Right? And I'm saying that God wants you to stop being so boring. You see, what a woman, when women keep saying they want romance, they're not trying to say, well, you need to spend a whole bunch of money. They're saying they want you to do something thrilling and something thoughtful that is new. Stop doing the same old thing. I mean, what I'm saying is that candlelight dinner at home, right, that you cooked yourself, right? A husband does that for his wife. And the first time, it's beautiful because it's new. And it's romantic even. But the third time, him light the same candle them, the same spread, the same hot dog he make that he did love the first time. Hot dog with cheese on it and mayonnaise and pickle pepper sauce. Say, no, sweetheart. I mean, because the man is confused. The man is saying, but I thought you said this was romantic. Men, it's romantic the first time. It's romantic maybe the second time. But God has new for you. What God is saying is that new environments create new feelings. Not just for women, but for men. Somebody say new. You need to discover new. Discovering new. Discovering each other in new environments and through new escapades. Discover new feelings in new places. Right? When there is new on the outside, men, there's new on the inside. Some of you men think that you're a champion. And she's just thinking, this old. She's saying, I'm used to you, buddy. I mean, brother and husband. Don't hashtag that. Today my pastor said, I was twanging. I need to stop twanging. But you know what I'm saying, right, women? It's good, but it's old. Right? So romance is continually discovering new in new environments. As a matter of fact, every new environment will give you both a new feeling. Not just on the outside, but on the inside. I'm telling you. Right? The principle of discovering the new. The fireplace is different from the beach. It's different from candlelight. It's different from a 5-star. Right? It's different from being under the stars. Every new place will give new feelings. Somebody say romance. And I want to show you something powerful. You're going to help me, please. Watch what happens here. A new environment with an old song will tear you up. Not only on the outside, but on the inside. Last night you played. Just like what you did It's himself. Man, it's not simple. I'm just saying. A new place with an old song. Someone said, thank you, Pastor Chris. Or you just give her a ribbon in the sky or something. Hey! That's all. All right, pull up. Look how the place will mash up. Somebody say a new place. Come on, wives, look at your husband and say, I want a new place with an old song. Hey. Single people, just find an old song. And just go and hold a prayer. Oh God. God can be the ribbon in your sky. Say, you're the meaning in my life. You're the inspiration. See, some of you, single people, you need to start worshiping. You need to really, okay. Lastly, someone say lastly, number 5, fascination. Fascination is this thing that happens when the relationship is new. The nuance of everything, the curiosity. You want to get to know somebody. You want to get to possess them. You want to get to, you want to know everything about them as fast as possible. How many of you remember that? And you can get infatuated, right? With this part of the relationship, the beginning of the relationship. Now, based on the principle of growth and the law of use, Isaiah 45:2 says, what you need to do is enlarge the place of your tent, stretch your tent curtains wide, don't hold back, lengthen your cords, strengthen your stakes. The reason why many of you married couples, you've lost the nuance in your relationship. As a matter of fact, after you came back from your honeymoon, you couldn't find it anymore, like you left it on. Is because you have stopped being new. I'm just saying, the feeling is there when you're new to each other. So what we have to do is we have to tap into the principle of growth and the law of use. It says that when you use what you have, it will grow, right? The reason is because you've stopped being new. So they're not going to be fascinated with you unless you become new. What I'm saying is that some people have just stopped growing, right? So the growth that you fought for before the wedding, right? So you said, I want to grow down from a 10 to a 5, and you grew down from a 36 waist to a 32 waist or whatever, and then you stopped growing after the wedding, at least down or the way you're supposed to be growing. God expects that you grow more fascinating. God says you can grow more fascinating. I created you with the ability to be more fascinating. Sex grows when you grow. Sex grows in its thunder, right? In its goodness when you grow in your goodness. In other words, a good sex life is tied to a strong growth life. The reason why a woman is not as fascinated with her husband after 5 years is because he hasn't grown in 5 years. So I'm saying, my stomach may be bigger than when Marsha met me, but so is my mind. You understand? I'm just saying, I believe, I speak in faith and hope, that my wife is still fascinated by me. I actually know that my wife is fascinated with me. Let me tell you why. Because I'm funnier than I was when she met me. Somebody say growth. She is still laughing. And nobody can tell me nothing. She's still laughing. The day I met her, I made her laugh. And she leaned on the counter and she said, I said, but. I said, I'm going to make this girl laugh as much as I can. I don't know. When I make her laugh, she goes, oh, she just. I said, the right joke gets her on her toes. And then the rest is history. What I'm saying is, some of you are not quite as funny. I'm saying my mind has grown. My mind has grown. I'm smarter than when she met me. I'm telling you. I'm smarter. I think so. My bank account has grown. I'm just saying that there's nothing more fascinating to a woman who is in love with a man than when his bank account grows. See, some of you men want to know why a woman like the man with enough money. It's because money is fascinating. You can go on. No, I'm not saying that's the only thing that should be fascinating. But he used to make $8 and now he makes $800. The same man. He never buck him toe and make it. He never thief it. But he has become someone more that makes more. He's more of a man. And he's more fascinating. My bank account is bigger. And she feels much more secure than she did before we got married, for sure. We were wondering how we were going to get married because we don't have no money. And the church people, give them offering the way them to. Anyway, I have grown. When somebody grows in their purpose development, in their career, and in who God has called them to be, when the business has grown, and that's growth, that is fascinating. You should never grow out. You should never stop growing out of being fascinating. I'm just telling you, that's how fascination works. Women, same thing to you. Grow fascinating. The most powerful place you can grow to is where you are growing spiritually. Men, women need a man that is spiritually grown. Women, some of you need a man that is spiritually grown, that is growing spiritually. I believe that you can be spiritually sexy. That you can be spiritually attractive to someone. That you can be so spiritually grown that your spouse wants you physically. Because you're fascinating when you grow. So the wife is talking to her friend on the phone and she says, my husband is so sexy. He has a very big spirit. He can go all night in worship. All night the man worshiping. Can't go on. He goes really long and hard in prayer. Every night he goes really deep into the word. He has me on my knees before the Lord. He has the gift of, all right, we're going to speaking in tongues. Okay. And because of who he has grown to be, ladies say, my cup runneth over. He restoreth my soul. He restoreth my soul. See, man, you should be praised like by a woman. She said, he is my redeemer. He is my restorer. He is my all in all. Who are you talking about? God, no, my husband. The man love God, you see? I'm just saying you can grow spiritually and become more fascinating. Somebody say growing. Let me just tell you my favorite story, and then we'll go. Is that okay? I went to a restaurant in America. I went to Red Lobster with a guy named Pastor Mike, trying to get to know each other. I told you guys about Pastor Mike before. Wonderful guy, older guy, kind of looks like Santa Claus. And we went out and we were eating. And while we were there, we ordered our food. There was a family beside us. white family with little kids, okay? They're jumping all over the place, doing all kinds of stuff. And then the waitress came over, tried to get them calm, and she said, what would you guys like to drink? And then the girl says, I'd like a Pepsi. And the waitress says, I'm sorry, darling, we have Coke products, right? And she says, no, I want a Pepsi. And then, the mother says, sweetheart, what else do you want to drink? Would you like a Coke? She says, no, Pepsi is gooder. And I'm like, gooder? And she said, yeah, Pepsi is gooder. She says, the waitress tries to explain, said, no, actually, like Pepsi and Coke are basically the same thing. Both of them black, both of them have the same, so Pepsi and Coke. She says, no, Pepsi is gooder. And I'm saying, you go, girl, stand up for what you want. The lady says, yes, but they look the same. She's like, to the mother, should I just bring out the Coke anyway? She says, no, Pepsi is gooder. The mother now sees that she's a little bit irritating to the waitress who just wants to take a drink order and says, baby, Pepsi and Coke are the same thing. Why you keep saying that Pepsi is gooder? I mean, they're basically saying, she says, no, mommy, Pepsi is gooder. Right? She says, baby, what do you mean it's gooder? Why? Use the right word. Pepsi is good, it's better. She says, no, it's gooder. She says, Pepsi tastes gooder every time I taste it. And Coke doesn't. In other words, every time she gets another Pepsi filled with ice, it is like if it tastes better or gooder than the last time. Somebody say gooder. Well, I came here today to simply tell you that God is gooder. And God's expectation of sex is that it would grow gooder for you. That it would be better than the last time. My husband is gooder. What do you mean him gooder? My wife is gooder. Gooder. I said that for Panton. What do you mean gooder? It means it's like my husband is better than the last time. Now, because sex is not just skin deep, we have to make sure that we're doing 5 things. We have to make sure that we're sowing. Somebody say, know that you're sowing. Become a giver, say giving. Somebody say deepening emotionally. Discovering romantically. And growing in your fascination. Go ahead. God has expectations of you when it comes to your sexual life. Single people, get ready. Married people, become more so that you can have more and so that your relationship can get gooder. I'd like you to watch this sermon again. You can go on YouTube and watch it and pay close attention to the spiritual principles that were applied so that you can make sure that everything else lines up and that you can have a sexual experience that is gooder.
Hey, thank you so much for watching us here, Go for God Family Church on YouTube. Why don't you go ahead and hit that subscribe button to ensure that you get all of what is new from Go for God Family Church and to ensure that you don't miss anything.